Could the world as we know it be teetering on the brink of another global conflict? Could the unthinkable, a third world war, actually transpire in our lifetimes? These are questions that no one wants to ponder, yet the reality of our geopolitical landscape compels us to do so. It all begins with the rising tensions between superpowers. The first domino in our timeline is the escalating economic and political rivalry between the United States and China. Stoked by trade wars, territorial disputes in the South China Sea, and the race for technological supremacy, this rivalry could potentially spiral into a military standoff. Next on our timeline is the resurgence of Russia's global ambitions. With its annexation of Crimea in 2014 and its ongoing involvement in the Syrian conflict, Russia has shown a willingness to flex its military might. This resurgence, coupled with NATO's eastward expansion, could potentially create a flashpoint reminiscent of the Cold War era. The third factor in our timeline is North Korea's nuclear ambitions. Despite numerous rounds of negotiations and sanctions, North Korea continues its pursuit of nuclear weapons. This relentless drive, coupled with the regime's unpredictability, adds a volatile element to an already tense geopolitical equation. The fourth domino in our timeline is the ever-present threat of terrorism. Non-state actors like ISIS and Al-Qaeda continue to pose a significant threat to global security. Their ability to exploit failed states and propagate their extremist ideologies could potentially ignite regional conflicts that spiral into a global war. Finally, the increasingly acute competition for resources, triggered by climate change and population growth, can't be overlooked. This competition could potentially lead to conflicts over water, arable land, and other vital resources. So we've traversed a timeline of potential triggers that could, in a worst-case scenario, ignite World War III. We've discussed the rising rivalry between the United States and China, the resurgence of Russia's global ambitions, North Korea's nuclear pursuits, the persistent threat of terrorism, and the competition for resources. The purpose of this exploration is not to spread fear or despair, but rather to underscore the importance of diplomacy, cooperation, and peace-building efforts in our increasingly interconnected and interdependent world. It's a reminder that the path to World War III is not inevitable. It's a path that we, as a global community, have the power to avoid. Remember, the future is not yet written. It's up to us to ensure that the next chapters of our global story are ones of peace and prosperity, not conflict and devastation. So, as we gaze into the future, let's hope that the lessons of the past guide our actions and decisions in the present.